Hi there, good afternoon and a warm welcome to Google headquarters here in central London, where we are ready for Vauxhall Football's first ever Google Plus Hangout. And I think it's a first as well for our four Home Nations managers, who Vauxhall have very kindly managed to round up for us today in alphabetical order. Roy Hodgson of England, Michael O'Neill of Northern Ireland, Scotland's Gordon Strachan and Chris Coleman of Wales. We also have four Vauxhall Ultimate fans with us today, posing their own questions to the international managers. But before we introduce them, I think we'll give our managers a touch of the ball. Chris Coleman, start us off. After watching the World Cup, have you learnt lessons about the future direction of international football?
I wouldn't say learn lessons. I think we all know no matter what group we get, there's going to be tough games. I said before we went to Nice for the draw, and I meant it respectfully. It wasn't about what teams were in our group, because you know you're going to get a couple of real hard teams, and then, you know, much of a muchness after that. But it's about us really with Wales. We've got a real good crop of players. Problem we've got is we can't get them all on the pitch at the same time, and maybe that'll never happen. I don't know. Maybe I'm just fantasizing about that, but I spoke with Glenn Hoddle when he said when he was manager of England, he never got his strongest team on the pitch, and that's a problem we all face. So my biggest concern is us. We're up against strong opposition. Belgium and Bosnia are fantastic teams, and then there's from Wales, Israel, Cyprus, Andorra, and people look at that and think those four teams are vying for that third spot, I would imagine. But it's about us, you know, and because we've got some good players, some really good players. And one great player, but it's getting them fit and getting them on the pitch. So I'm more concerned about us than I really am about the opposition. We respect the opposition, and you have to do that, but it's about us.
Do you share that view, Gordon? Is it about what Chris says, getting your best players all on the pitch together at the same time?
Yes.
Thanks very much. You look like you enjoyed yourself.
I loved it. I was in Rio for 4 weeks. Young people should go to Rio for. But after 3 weeks, there's a point to how many thongs you can actually look at. I got bored after 3 weeks. But it was good. The football was okay as well. But as Chris says, that there were so many systems going on there. But you get a system around your best players. The Dutch did it. They knew they were a bit weak at the back, so they'll play three centre-backs. They knew their best players were Van Persie and Robin. We'll get a system to suit them. And we're the same at Scotland. We will pick a system that suits us. We play Germany soon, and people say, have you got some special tactics? You know, you can sit there all night and play about with. I sat there in Rio one night and I thought, yeah, I've got that, yeah. I thought, that's perfect. I've filled in every space. They can't attack us. And I looked at it, I thought, I've got 14 players there. So we will just go on what we've been doing over the last year. And we think our system defensively would give most teams a prompt breakdown. What we've been trying to develop in the last six to 8 months is a better system attacking, a better freedom for our players. And we'll try to do that. We'll take the challenge up from that. As Chris will tell you, last year, you can be unlucky with the draw, or you can be England and be very lucky with the draws. Is you laughing?
No.
Is it? Because we had a group last year for the European Championships. We had Belgium, who were third in the world at one point. Croatia were third in the world at one point. And Serbia, who everybody thought you should beat. If you look at their back four is worth 100 million. And then you've got Matic, Tadic, Markovic took in there. So that's the kind of groups we've been up against recently. And we'll have another hard group. We've got a hard group again. But we look forward to that challenge because we think we're going down the right road.
Michael, what about you? Do you approach this campaign with great anticipation, or is there a certain amount of trepidation for Northern Ireland?
Combination of both, to be honest. I think you know, we're obviously coming out as a pot 5 team, so whatever we face is going to be higher ranked teams than what we are. Touching on what Gordon and Chris said, obviously the big thing is, you know, that consistency of selection. We have only 5 players really that are playing at Premier League level. We need them fit, we need them available. They're vastly experienced players as well, so they do bring a lot to the team. And you know, I think that we've made the team difficult to beat. but we have to then, as Gordon touched again on, like, we have to be more of a threat now from an attacking point of view, and we need hopefully the players in that area of the pitch to be available. They've been inconsistent in terms of their availability and inconsistent at times in terms of their performance, and that'll be the big challenge for us. And touching on that, the one time actually in the 2.5 years that I have had the luxury of selecting the same team off the back of a good performance against Portugal, we got the worst performance of the 2.5 years that I've been in charge away to Luxembourg. So I think that the way the qualification is set up, certainly in the single games, we'll be a match for anyone. The double headers are more difficult for us just because of the resource we have. But it's a campaign that I think we've everything to gain again. It's not the most glamorous group. Romania, Greece and Hungary aren't perhaps the most mouth-watering teams from supporters, but there'll be tough games. And in all honesty, in the 2.5 years that I've been in charge, those are the games that we've done better in. It's the teams where the expectation has been for us to go and win the game, and potentially what people perceive as the weaker teams, they've proven to be the more difficult games for us.
Now, Roy, I'm not going to ask if you enjoyed Brazil. That would be unfair. But are you refreshed, raring to go?
Yes, absolutely, yeah. Got a cold at the moment, but that will pass over by next week, I hope.
Good. Right. Let's introduce our first Vauxhall Ultimate fan, who is an England fan as well. That is Mark Stringfellow, who's a big Manchester United fan. Good afternoon to you, Mark. What would you like to ask Roy?
Hi, guys. Firstly, I'd like to thank Roy for the opportunity today.
Is he an England fan?
Pleasure.
Can you hear me again?
I can hear you, yeah.
So the first question would be, given that we're going through a transition period, bringing the younger players through, do you feel that facing easier opposition in the qualifying group will be a good enough preparation for facing the bigger teams in the finals, or would you prefer to be facing them now?
No, I think it's we've been quite fortunate with the group. I mean, obviously Switzerland are going to be the biggest rival in terms of trying to win it, and we have to meet them first, which is somewhat unfortunate. One would have preferred to have met them maybe after you've had a chance to play some of the other teams and, you know, get a team bedded in, as it were. But I thought our final game against Costa Rica, when we gave a lot of young players a chance and, you know, to show what they could do, I was quite buoyed by that performance. I think I've been buoyed by the performance of some of the players early on in pre-season and the first round of the Premier League, some of the young players. So I think we're going to need these matches really to give players a chance to, first of all, understand what it means to play for England and what we expect for them when they play for England. And more importantly, we hope that during the course of the 2 years they'll get a lot more experience in the Premier League and Champions League. So I would like to think that the 2-year period will be useful to us holistically, so that the players that we eventually take to France 2016, assuming that we qualify, will be much more ready, for example, than they would be today.
Mark, thank you for that. Let me just pick up on that point, Roy, that you made there, that you've been excited by some of the players' performances from some of the younger players in the Premier League thus far. Is that where you're thinking now you will go with this England team?
Well, I mean, basically speaking, in the 2 years or 2.5 years I've been working with the team, you know, there's been a lot of very good players that I've been able to count on. You know, during the team in 2012 had people like John Terry, Ashley Cole, Frank Lampard. Well, in fact, Frank was injured but should have been there. Steven Gerrard, of course. All of these sort of players were still playing and were giving us the benefits of their enormous experience. Now, you know, with a few exceptions, most of those players now have decided that they aren't going to be available for England anymore. So it throws us into a situation where we've got to look elsewhere. And I think that I've been fortunate in the sense that some of the top clubs in the country are showing their faith in the young players. Liverpool in particular have, you know, shown great faith in people like Henderson, Sturridge and Sterling. They've shown what they can do, and I hope that will benefit not just them, but it will benefit us as well. But of course, it's like everything else. You know, you can't replace 100 caps with 10 caps. That 10-cap man, he needs in some way to get the sort of experience and the experience, if you like, the ups and downs of playing for a national team like the 100-cap man has. And I think I'm fortunate in the course of these 2 years we'll have a lot of games, not just the qualifiers but friendlies. So by the time France comes around, I hope most of these players will have 20 to 30 caps behind them. and a lot of Champions League experience as well.
Okay, Mark, thank you for the moment. We're going to move on to our Northern Ireland Ultimate fan, Dave Wiggins. Dave talks about his favourite player as being David Healy, and Dave is from Portadown. Hi, Dave. What would you like to ask Michael O'Neill?
Hi, Michael. How are you?
Hi, David. Fine, thanks.
All right. I have a couple of questions for you. The first one is, what have you been up to over the summer? Describe it did you go to the World Cup? What have you been up to?
That's really, don't I? Is that football-wise or just in general?
Whatever.
I obviously I watched all of the World Cup. I did a bit of television work back in Ireland for the World Cup. Yeah. I had a quiet July with my family. Got the opportunity of a holiday, and since the season started, I've been back on the road around the grounds of the UK, just keeping an eye on the players that we have.
Brilliant. Okay. Thank you. My next question.
Follow it up, Dave.
There's nothing else I can disclose at this minute in time that would
Absolutely, and it's good to hear you're out and about and around the UK watching games as well. So that's good. I have another question for you then, which is, which away trip are you looking forward to the most, and how will you go about achieving away points during the campaign?
I think the first game is one that I'm looking forward to. I've seen Hungary firsthand, the way they played Denmark towards the end of May, and I think they're a team which is on the up. They had a decent campaign in the Euros, although they didn't, or for the World Cup rather, although they didn't make the playoffs. Again, we'll go to, there's a brand new stadium in Budapest, which is a beautiful stadium, so it's going to be a good arena for us to go and play in. Mm-hmm. And we've played now 7 games in a row away from home because of the situation at Windsor Park and the redevelopment at Windsor Park. So we're used to being on the road, and we face, I think, the three top teams in the group. We faced them away from home in the first 4 games. So hopefully the travels that we've had have equipped us to deal with the games that we have, or the games that we face. They will be tough games, and I think we're going to have to find a way. What we have found to date is we've made ourselves difficult to beat. So we've gone to the likes of Uruguay recently, Turkey recently, and we've been beaten either 1-0 or we drew away in Israel, we've drawn away in Portugal. So the template will not change greatly when we play away to Hungary, but I suppose the key for us is being able to capitalise on the opportunities that we have in the attacking sense of the game, and that's really where we need to improve. Our top players and our most experienced players play in the defensive positions on the pitch, so that'll very much be I suppose the backbone of our team. And as I say, I believe that certainly the Hungary game is something that we can take something from, and then obviously we have the Faroes game at home, which is a game that we have to obviously try and take 3 points from, and hopefully after the opening 2 games we can be optimistic about our position in the group.
Dave, thank you very much for the moment. We're going to have to move on. We're up against the clock this afternoon, so we're going to move to Scotland now and speak to David Christie, who's a Wraith Rovers fan. And I'm sure David is delighted at the opportunity to ask questions of Gordon Strachan.
Definitely.
Fire away, David.
First of all, thanks for the opportunity for this. Secondly, the question, what's been the highlight of your career so far as a Scotland manager?
Let me think. Has there been any? Yeah, there's.
Can I just put this in context? Because I know that David has said himself that his favourite moment of being a Scotland fan is the current progression that he's seen with you at the helm.
Probably, when I think about it, the most exciting game. Croatia's probably the best result we had away from home when I think they were third in the world at the time, when we needed that result to make us feel a bit better about ourselves. Yeah. I actually enjoyed the until they scored the winner England game. I thought, from a footballing point of view, it was a terrific game of football. I thought from a fan's point of view, I think everybody enjoyed that night. Now, if you ask me that question, what did I enjoy that game 5 minutes after the game, I would have kicked you out the dressing room. I didn't enjoy the result, but I enjoyed the whole thing, the atmosphere, the build-up, and we've got to recreate that even better at Celtic Park on November the 18th. I think there's still some tickets available if anybody wants to go along. Phone the SFA. It'll be expensive right enough, but get yourself along there. That's me got the sack again, Darryl, isn't it? Yeah. I'm always teetering on the borderline where I get the sack me. But you will enjoy. I've enjoyed that, and as you say, just sitting back and watching the players grow as a squad.
Yeah.
I do feel we're getting to the stage now we're actually behaving on the football field, not like a club side, which is terrific. By the way, that's not much of a flag you've got behind you there. The England and Ireland outdid you in the flag department.
Northern Ireland, yeah.
David, you've raised a very interesting issue, and Gordon's raised an interesting issue with the England game, which Roy is sneaked into your calendar as well in November. Of course, a chance to play at Celtic Park. Is that a game that you would relish, given what we've talked about? There aren't that many big games for England in terms of big opposition in the next 2 years.
Well, certainly in terms of friendlies, we've really only had big games since I took over just over 2 years ago. You know, we played Brazil twice, we played Italy and Sweden away, we played Scotland and Ireland, albeit at Wembley, but they're big occasions because both nations brought an awful lot of fans with them, and I agree with Gordon, it was a fantastic occasion, as was the Ireland match actually. So I've not been blessed with many friendly matches where you could sit back and think, well, this is a game we should comfortably win. And often, of course, you want to use your friendly matches to look at some different players, and as a result, you're not even using your best team sometimes in those matches, or the best team you have in your head. But going to Scotland, and I found out now the game's at Celtic Park. I suppose I was guessing it would be at Hampden, but I've got good memories of Celtic Park from the Neuchâtel Xamax days, and I think I'll be looking forward very much to the game. But we'll know very much that it's going to be one heck of a game up there, because whenever you play Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales, Ireland, any of the teams that used to be the home nations, they're always games where you're going to be under pressure, because I suppose we have to accept the title of Big Brother, and as Big Brother, you're the one that's up there to be shot down. So we'll need to be playing very, very well in November when we go up there. But we've got a few matches first, and hopefully the team which I take to Celtic Park in November will have half a dozen or so games behind them, and will be, you know, more of a team, as it were, than they could possibly be in the first game, because for many of the players, I said earlier, it'll be their if not their first matches for England, it will be certainly their early matches for England.
As well as expecting to qualify, Gordon, your Scottish public will expect you to beat England at home.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the best way to try to get out of Celtic Park after the game is by winning. Yeah.
Which you did once or twice as Celtic manager as well. Let's introduce our fourth Vauxhall Ultimate fan from Wales. That's Andrew Williams, who's actually a Spurs fan. So I'm guessing, Andrew, that as a Spurs fan and a Welshman, you're a big fan of Gareth Bale as well.
Was a big fan of Gareth Bale. No, of course I am, yeah.
Only when he played for his country.
Prynawn da, good afternoon, Chris. Just like to start by saying really looking forward to this new campaign. And a couple of me and my mates are really looking forward to going over to Andorra next month to follow the boys. Probably going to get one question in. So, in the end of season friendly with Holland in Amsterdam, we handed debuts to, amongst others, James Chester and George Williams, and also included Tom Lawrence in the squad. Do you see these new faces, and or perhaps others, having a major role to play in this campaign?
Yeah, I think we're not blessed with an abundance of players that will be able to compete at the level that we're in. So, you know, our squad's not that big, our pool of players is not that big. So it's nice and it's encouraging when we see young George Williams and Tom Lawrence having a little taste of it, and that's the best. You know, the games when you play against Holland, totally agree with Roy. If you're going to have friendlies, I don't see the point in having friendlies against teams. Not that there are many teams that we can say we're going to go out and we're guaranteed to win. You're best off playing against teams that you know it's going to be tough, and you learn more from that, and your players have a better experience. So it was interesting for us. We had 12 missing out of the Holland game. So then we had young George Williams and Tom Lawrence. James Chester, who was a bit more experienced, and he's a Premier League defender. And it was their first taste of it, which was interesting for us, but they did very, very well. But the younger players, Tom Lawrence and George Williams, also Declan John at Cardiff has come onto the scene. Johnny Williams has been with us now the last 18 months. You know, there's one or two others there. They're good young players. That bodes well for us for the future. But at international level, the players in there, if you've got a team where the majority of the players have got 40, 50, 60 caps, you know, it's a huge help, and it's an added advantage.
Chris, thank you on that. Andrew was going to follow up with a question on Gareth Bale and Aaron Ramsey, which I will. How important is it that those two are available to you in terms of your chances of actually qualifying? And do you think it's actually a realistic possibility, if indeed they are fit and available?
Yeah, I think it's pointless as people talk about the current crop of players we've got, and it's our best chance of qualifying. We've got a better chance than we've had in a long time because the format's different. It's 24 teams, but I think we've got Gareth Bale, who's a great player. Well, Ryan Giggs was a great player. Ian Rush was a great player. Neville Southall was a great player. Mark Hughes. They were all in the same team, and we still didn't qualify. So when we look at this current crop of players and we say this is the golden generation, I've said before, England were labelled the golden generation. I think it was 2006, going into the Germany World Cup, I think it was. You don't need the golden generation if you produce the goods. If you produce the goods, you're the golden generation. We haven't done that yet. And we've got a lot of good players playing in the Premier League. We've got Gareth Bale, who's a great player. Aaron Ramsey is top player. But we've had other Welsh squads with an abundance of talent, and we still didn't qualify. So yes, we've got a good chance of qualifying. It's going to be difficult. It's doable. And again, like I said earlier, it is about can we get our strongest players on the pitch more often than we have had. Because if we do that, we've got a real good chance.
Dave Wiggins has just reappeared from Northern Ireland. Let's get you to ask another question then, Dave. You've asked a couple already to Michael. What about your third question I was thinking of?
Yeah. I haven't got that with me right now. Michael, what's been your best moment as a Northern Ireland manager?
I think, obviously, victories have been few and far between, so it's an easy question to answer from that point of view. And the home victory against Russia was particularly special, given that they were top of the group and they had a high-profile coach, obviously, and Fabio Capello that came, and it was a great performance by us on the night to win the game and to play as well as we did. Yeah. And the games against Portugal as well, even though we lost the game in Belfast 4-2, I thought for 60 minutes, really, we were outstanding. Unfortunately, the red cards played a big factor, and Ronaldo scoring a hat-trick in about 15 minutes also played a big factor. But as I say, those games where we've really been a minnow going against the top nation and we've punched above our weight have certainly been the highlights. The downsides are at times where we've underperformed, as I say, against some of the smaller nations.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Dave. Let me just ask the same question to Roy. What's been your highlight so far as England coach? What do you think it might still be to come?
Hopefully it will still be to come, because you always hope that your best moment is still to come. I think the best moment as a national team manager is often the moment when you're asked to do the job. I mean, that's a moment you're never going to forget, because it's very exciting and obviously very prestigious to be asked to be the national manager of your, particularly in my case, of my own country, having done it for other countries. In terms of matches, there's been quite a few, but I mean, in particular, I would say the two matches where we had to win them both at Wembley against Montenegro and then Poland. I thought they were very, very good occasions. We actually played well in both of the games, and the fans were fantastic that night, and qualifying for Brazil in that way was something which will always remain with me. But I think that it's dangerous to think too much about the past and to get hung up with matches in the past. If you're lucky and you have a long career, there'll always be moments you look back on with great pride and affection. There'll be other moments you look back on with sorrow and regret, but that's all part of our life as a football manager. But the great thing is that there's an awful lot to look forward to, and in my case in particular, I think it's going to be very, very exciting to see how some of these players that we all accept, I guess my colleagues here would accept that, the players who've already emerged and have started to play some games for England, if they continue as they've started, they could be very, very good players in time to come. So it's an exciting time working with them.
Mark's listening in. Mark, would you like to follow up another question for Roy?
Yes, thank you. Just assuming that we qualify for Euro 2016, what would Roy realistically consider to be a successful campaign in France?
Well, you want to go as far as you can go. I mean, I think it's dangerous to start, putting too many sort of so-called realistic targets. I think you've got to go into the campaign working on the basis you're going to win it. Now that can, fall down very, very heavily, because you might go in believing and hoping and certainly planning to win, and then you don't get very far at all. But I don't think we'll ever go into a campaign as England without setting up at least to win it. Now, whether we'll be good enough, that's another matter, and there'll be strong teams in front of us, but we know how small the margins are in tournament football. We've seen lots of teams win major tournaments that at the start would not have been fancied to win it at all. Denmark winning the Euros in '92, and Greece more recently winning tournaments. And you also know it's going to hinge on small matters. Holland had a very, very good World Cup, but if Robin hadn't been able to get his way to that penalty, and which saw them go through, maybe they wouldn't have had such a good World Cup. That's how close it is. But I think your aim's got to be, we're going to plan well, we're going to work well, we're going to set up well, we're going to give the players as much confidence as we can give them, and we're in this tournament to win it. But unfortunately, as we did last time, that's how we approached the World Cup, and it didn't get us very far. But let's hope next time it will get us further, because our plans and our procedure and our aims won't change. And then afterwards, the games will be played, and then people will make their judgments on whether it was good enough or not good enough. But that's also something, as a football manager, you live with, because it's very much part of our lives.
And it's a difficult first game. Thank you, Mark. Difficult first game for England away at Switzerland. A difficult first game for Northern Ireland, as we've heard, against Hungary. The hardest one you could possibly have had ahead of these Euro qualifiers was the world champions away from home. Good luck, Scotland. What was the thought process, Gordon, when you saw that was to be your first game?
At the time, that was before the World Cup, and I thought, yeah, that would be nice, because we're coming along quite nicely. I'm looking forward to that and see how well we progressed. And as the World Cup went on, so I was in Rio, and when they got the quarterfinals, I thought, go on and win it, because I think they're the best all-round team there. Plus the fact that we'll be the first to have a crack at a competitive game playing the world champions. Similar to when England were the world champions away back in the mist of time, about '66, something like that. England won it, and they've been in transitional state since then, by the way. And the first team to beat them was Scotland in 1967, which was fantastic. It was a fantastic occasion, and it was great for me and my mother, because we see my dad on the telly dancing about. He only went out for a bag of chips on the Friday, and we seen him on the pitch. So it's great for us to go there and play the champions, because it'll be great for them. We're taking about 5,500 supporters as well. It's a fantastic stadium, and we're looking forward to that. That's for sure.
Definitely.
David, final question for Gordon.
Is there any up-and-coming Scottish youngsters that will be ready for the tournament?
For the tournament, you're talking about right away with Germany, the tournament, or after qualifying?
Kind of both.
Right, okay. We have one or two, young McGregor, who's come through at Celtic. There's Ryan Gould, who's away to Sporting Lisbon. We'll see how he develops. But we've got a nice age group. A lot of lads about 26, 27, so that's nice. I think they'll be hitting their peak between 26 and 30. I think you're a good player then. It might hit your peak about then, and if you're lucky to keep playing to your 30 and 30 odds, then that's fantastic. But we've got a nice group of players, a good group of players to work with, so we're happy with that.
Excellent.
Thank you very much, David, and thank you for that, Gordon. Final word from Chris Coleman. As far as Wales go, Chris, what would you really like to achieve over the next 2 years?
Well, I think we're starting off with 0 points like everyone in the group, so like I said earlier, I think if we have a little bit of luck injury-wise, when we get our best team on the pitch, maybe we can go that one step further than what the Welsh team has done. So whilst we're starting with 0 points, we're going into it full of enthusiasm. Expectations are always high, we know that, but it's all to play for. So, like Roy said earlier, when England go into a big tournament, because they're seen as the big brother, then the expectation is they've got to get to the least of the semi-finals, if not the final, and win it. With us, the holy grail for us is to qualify. We've got a chance to do that. 10 games, home and away, a little bit of luck. We've got a good chance to do that, and that's the objective.
Of course, we all wish all of our managers the very best of luck. But gentlemen, we are out of time. Thank you so much to our Vauxhall Ultimate fans for taking part today. They won a competition, incidentally, at the start of the year. They have been blogging over at Vauxhall Football about their thoughts on the progress of their international sides. Vauxhallfootball.co.uk. They're actually going to all the games as well at home. I just want to say as well, thank you, of course, to the managers for their time this afternoon. Chris Coleman of Wales, Gordon Strachan, Michael O'Neill and Roy Hodgson. Gentlemen, we all wish you the very best of luck and hope maybe we can talk about all of you qualifying in 2 years' time, even you, Michael. Why are you looking at me like that? And finally, thank you as well to the Home Nations football sponsor, Vauxhall, for making it all happen today. Vauxhall Football's first ever Google Plus Hangout. And make sure to follow Vauxhall Football on Google. Go to google.com/plus Vauxhall Football. And it's bye from all of us.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, lads.